well do you know Roy Rogers? Well, I got to tell you, I loved going to Roy Rogers, and I used to watch Roy Rogers movies. All right, let's see how well I know Roy Rogers. What is his real name? I do know that one, Leonard Sly. When is his birthday? I honestly don't know, but I do know he was born the same year as my grandmother. So I know that he was born in 1911. Don't know what was on a double R burger. Who was his sidekick in over 40 movies? That was Pat Brady. Name the 3 delicious chicken nugget dipping sauces. I don't know. Don't know what was at the salad bar. Don't know how much bacon was on the cheeseburger. I don't know what I could get free with an order of chicken. I guess one side dish. What famous rock group did a remake of the song Happy Trails? I know that one. Van Halen. What other fast food restaurants have a Fixin's bar? Well, I guess none of them, Roy. I guess that's name the first movie that Roy and Dale Evans starred in together. That was his wife. Dale Evans was the name of his wife, and they starred in The Cowboy and the Senorita. That was the first movie they did together, and he was married to his first wife at the time. She then passed away, and he ended up courting Dale Evans, and they married a few years after that. So let's see, what can you get in a kid's meal? I don't know, a kid? I don't know what kind of guitar he played. What was Trigger's original name? I didn't know that. Trigger had more than one name? No idea. I know the song that was sung on the end of the show because we already did that with the Van Halen question. But number 13 here, I know this one. What was the name of Roy Rogers' dog? It was Bullet. I think it was called Bullet the Wonder Dog. They stuffed Bullet. And they stuffed Dale's dog, and I can't remember what her dog's name was, like Whisper or something, but they were both stuffed as well as Trigger, and I believe Country Music Television purchased Trigger and Bullet, so I think they have them on display. I would love to see them. That is pretty great. Roy said he'd like to be stuffed and put right next to them, but unfortunately they did not honor his wishes, and instead he is buried out in California. Roy Rogers, 50 cents. There's a wooden nickel. Here's a tater token. It's a paper nickel. I remember when they had this cup, this bag. The small fries there, I don't remember. I remember that holster. So that holster would hold all your fries in it. You could put that on your belt and just walk around and pull a fry out. I mean, you were quick on the draw. Slow down for Roy's new breakfast. Yeah, everybody started having breakfast in the late 80s into the 90s, and so this would have been a tray liner. Roy's surprise cup. What is the surprise? Oh, so you peel this off for a surprise, and the surprise is you get that Boston Red Sox hat. I thought maybe the surprise was that you didn't know what was going to be in your drink. You're like, well, let me take a sip. Oh no, it's milk and I'm lactose intolerant. Clear the way. Here's a cooler. I like this. I like the blue and yellow. It's kind of very 80s colors. Here's another one. You got the red and yellow. This is Hulk Hogan colors. And we got a penguin there who couldn't look cooler. Roy Rogers roast beef sandwiches. So this is a book of matches. They used to have matches and ashtrays at all fast food restaurants. So this was a very common item. An X-Men cup with the Roy Rogers logo there right above the Coca-Cola. That's really great. There were a lot of promotional tie-ins with this. They did not have the best promotional tie-ins though for their Happy Meals. This is their adventure series with this fake robot, and then look at this He-Man and She-Ra ripoff here. My good, I mean, that is like if He-Man was like going undercover. All right, we get some robot riddles, but yeah, look at this dude. Look at this He-Man dude. Here's a skateboard. This was like a meal, kid's meal that came inside of a skateboard. That's pretty cool. I don't know what this one means. I don't know what they're 500 what. Maybe they had 500 locations. I'm not sure. Here's a box ticket. So this is your ticket to Roy Rogers Chicken. Here's another Happy Meal. This has some questionable superheroes. Happy Parker's Fried Chicken. So Roy Rogers started, the Marriott Corporation owned a restaurant called Hot Shop, and it was SHOPPE, Hot Shop. And Hot Shop then became Roy Rogers because they got a licensing deal with Roy, and Roy would go to all the openings and pull the ribbon. It was fantastic. And so Pappy Parker's Fried Chicken was a holdover. Now, Roy Rogers started, it was just roast beef. And then they brought in Pappy Parker's Fried Chicken, which was already a known quantity at the hot shops. And so they brought in Pappy Parker's Fried Chicken. Here he is. He says, "Come on, everybody, and help yourself to great big pieces of my delicious fried chicken. And don't forget our creamy coleslaw, too." And there's Pappy there. Roy's is still around. I love Roy's. I went earlier this year, I went to a Roy's that still had the original architecture, but it was no longer a Roy's. It was like some other restaurant, like a hamburger joint that had gone out of business. I'll show you a clip of it here. This part is the very distinctive rock work. And that's it. And then I went over to an existing Roy's. Here we go. I went with the two-piece fried chicken. And then I took that food to Falls Church, Virginia, because that was where the very first Roy Rogers was. If you look there, you see that building in the background? Right there. And the Roy Rogers would have been right about where the McDonald's is. When the Roy Rogers company sold to Hardee's, they started closing down any of the locations that weren't profitable and that they didn't think that they could turn into a Hardee's. So they shut down a bunch of them. In my area, all of the Roy Rogers shut down. They were replaced by Wendy's and McDonald's. And that was the case in a lot of places, and that was the case here. So the very first, the #1 location became McDonald's, which is disappointing that it changed, but it closed sometime in the 1990s, and now this town, Falls Church, doesn't have a Roy. This is when they opened this in 1969, and you can see the building, the front of the building looked exactly like that first location we went to, the All About the Burger, because that one wasn't torn down, but this one clearly they tore the building down. They built this McDonald's in its place, but Roy, for their big grand opening, would have been standing right about here. All right, here it is. Got two-piece and a biscuit from Roy Rogers. So with Falls Church being a town without a Roy Rogers in decades, ever since they started closing them in the early 90s, you had to drive about 15 minutes to get Roy Rogers. So I think the odds of anybody picking it up, driving it here, since 1992 maybe, 1990, 1991, are just not there. So now it's time to be the first person to have some of this in this spot. I did it for you, Roy. Either way, if you enjoy these videos, make sure to be like the Fonz, give them a thumbs up, and while you do, go "Ay," because that's fun. And you know you want to. But if you give it a thumbs up, YouTube shares it with someone else. And if they give it a thumbs up, they share it with another person. Come back tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Going to have a whole brand new adventure. And right now there's going to be a box here and here. And you can choose either one. It's going to be 2 great adventures here. I mean, these are great. But tomorrow might be even better. Something brand new right here at 2 o'clock. Pointless nostalgia.